Welcome everyone to session 2 of unit HLTWHS001. My name is Cheyenne and I'll be your trainer today. So this unit's all about workplace health and safety. So this is session 2. This is a pre-recorded session. During the live sessions, we'll cover the content for this week, as well as long as some questions that we will work together trying to answer, and also some case studies where we'll sit down and break down each case study and work out the best possible actions to each question. We'll also have time to go through assessments for the unit, and if we got even more time, we will even look into role play assessments for other units as well. And I could also answer questions about other assessments as well during the session. So coming back to our session today, so again, it's about workplace health and safety, participating in workplace health and safety. As I spoke about last week, I just want you guys to imagine yourselves in a workplace scenario, as you can see on this photo on your screen. Hopefully you can see it clearly, how quickly incidents can happen when safety is overlooked. So a wet floor, for instance, might seem like a minor inconvenience at first glance, but it can lead to serious incidents if not addressed appropriately or in a timely manner. Okay, so before we carry on, I just want to show some recognition for the first inhabitants of our land. So in the spirit of reconciliation, Hatta Institute of Education acknowledges the traditional owners, the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We recognise Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as the first inhabitants of this nation and the traditional custodians of land on which we work, live and study. We express our gratitude for the sharing of this land, our sorrows for the personal, spiritual, cultural cost of that sharing, and hope that we may move forward together in harmony and in the spirit of healing. We pay our respects to all First Nations people and acknowledge elders past, present, and emerging. Okay, session 2. So this unit is divided into 2 sessions. During session 2, we'll be building on the foundations that we established during session 1 or during the first week, and we'll be focusing on these 4 areas that you can see on your screen that will contribute to safe and efficient work environments. So the first one there is contributing to safe work practices. So we'll look at how each of us can actively promote and support safe practices in our daily tasks and interactions. This may include following policies, using equipment safely, and fostering a culture of awareness and accountability. The next one is reporting hazards. So identifying and reporting hazards is a proactive step towards preventing incidents. We'll look at effective methods for recognizing hazards and ensuring they are addressed promptly and also appropriately. Then reporting incidents. So when incidents occur, accurate and timely reports is very important. This helps the organization investigate the cause, implement corrective actions, and prevent future occurrences. And finally, emergency procedures. So knowing how to respond in an emergency can save lives and also reduce harm. We'll look at common emergency scenarios such as fires or medical emergencies and the procedures you need to follow to ensure safety as well. It's also worth mentioning that after this week, you'll get an email with the pre-recordings and the recording of the live session. And you'll also get some links to other videos. That came to mind after I read the part about the scenarios, emergency scenarios. So there'll be some video links where it will break down some emergencies, common emergency scenarios, and it'll just explain or describe the management of them incidents during them videos. So I recommend that you guys watch them, just give you a bit more understanding about what to do during emergency situations and how to avoid them and how to respond to them as well. All right, as we begin this segment, let's talk about contributing to safe work practices. So safety isn't just about policy or equipment. It's about the active role each of us play in creating and maintaining a secure work environment. So um, here I want to highlight the balance between risk and safety. So reminding us that reducing risk is a collective responsibility. So when it comes to contributing to safe work practices, it involves several key actions. Things like understanding and following procedures, um, identifying and reporting hazards, using equipment safely, communicating with colleagues, and continuous improvement. Remember, safety isn't just the responsibility of management or safety officers. It's something that every team member needs to contribute towards. By actively engaging in safe work practices, you can help protect yourselves, your colleagues, and the broader workplace as well. Effective workplace safety relies on open communication and collaboration. This is where participating in consultation becomes a critical component. Consultation ensures that everyone's voice is heard and that safety practices reflect the collective knowledge and experience of the team. Let's take a closer look at the key area where consultation plays a role. So when it comes to hazards and risks, employees and employers work together to identify potential hazards and assess the risk. This collaboration ensures that risks are addressed early and appropriately. Um, Eliminating or minimizing risks. So the consultation allows for brainstorming and implementing practical strategies to reduce risk. The next one is facilitate. So workplaces facilitate such as emergency exits, lighting, ventilation, sanitation, and essential safety. Consulting about these ensures that they meet the needs of everyone in the workplace. Uh, Changes. So another key area is changes. So changes in the workplace, whether it introduces new equipment, modifying processes, or relocating workspaces, often bring new risks. The next key area is procedures. So reviewing and updating workplace procedures through consultation ensures they remain relevant and effective. The next one is resolving issues. So consultation is vital when resolving safety related concerns. Open communication fosters trust and helps to address more problems promptly and more effectively. And the last one is monitoring. Regular monitoring of safety measures and workplaces conditions is another area where consultation is important. Employees can provide valuable insight into the effectiveness of current practice and suggest improvements. Um, so by actively participating in safety discussions, you'll be contributing to a safer, more inclusive workplace as well. Considering all these key areas when you're consulting with supervisors, managers, and your colleagues in the workplace. Okay, hierarchy of control. So this is a fundamental concept in workplace health and safety. It provides structured approach to manage risks by prioritizing control measures, starting with the most effective and moving to the least effective. Let's walk through each of them, each of the hierarchy on the screen. So the first one is eliminating risk. So the most effective control is to remove the hazard entirely. For example, if a task can be redesigned to eliminate the need for manual lifting, the risk of injury from lifting is eliminated. Next one is substitute the hazard with a safer alternative. So if elimination isn't possible, the next step is to replace the hazard with something less dangerous. For instance, using non-toxic cleaning agents instead of hazardous chemical reduces risks. Then isolate the hazard from people. So this is about separating the hazard from workers can significantly reduce the exposure. For example, enclosing noisy machinery in a soundproof room or using barriers to restrict access to hazardous areas as also. Okay, then we have the isolating the hazard from people. So separating the hazard from workers can reduce exposure. Then we move on to reduce the risk through engineering controls. So engineering solutions involve redesigning equipment or processes to reduce risks. Examples include installing ventilation systems to remove harmful fumes or using ergonomic tools to reduce strain. Then let's move on to the next one. So um, another measure is reducing exposure using administrative control. So these controls focus on changing the way people work. Examples include implementing safe work procedures, providing training, rotating tasks to reduce exposure, or scheduling hazardous tasks for times where fewer workers present. And then the last one there is use of personal protective equipment. So PPE is considered a last line of defense and should be used when other controls cannot fully mitigate the risk. Examples include gloves, safety goggles, helmets, and respiratory masks. Building on our understanding of the hierarchy of controls, let's now focus on how to implement control measures effectively in the workplace. Knowing the theory is essential, but putting it into practice is where we truly make a difference in ensuring safety in the workplace. Implementing controls measures involve a systematic approach. First, you've got to be able to clearly define what the hazard is. For example, a machine without a safety guard or a task that requires repetitive heavy lifting. We need to determine the likelihood and severity of harm the hazard could cause. This helps prioritize which hazard needs immediate action. We need to refer to the hierarchy of control to choose the highest level of control possible. So we've got to look at, like we spoke about in previous slides, elimination, substitution, isolation, engineering controls, administrative controls, and personal protective equipment. We need to develop a plan to introduce these control measures that will involve purchasing new equipment, redesigning work processes, providing training or updating procedures, communicating changes to all affected employees. After implementation, we're going to regularly check the effectiveness of the control. And we do this by asking questions such as, is the risk reduced? Is the control being used correctly? And we need to gather feedback from employees and make the required adjustments as required. So now let's consider a workplace where employees are exposed to loud noise levels. So the hazard is prolonged exposure to loud noise. In terms of the risk assessment, it's high likelihood of hearing damage over time. Now let's look at the control measures. So first of all, elimination. It's probably not feasible as noise is inherent to the process. Substitution, we could use quieter machinery if possible. Engineering controls, we could install sound dampening material or acoustic enclosures around noisy equipment. And what about administrative controls? We could limit the time employees spend in noisy areas, schedule noisy tasks where fewer people are present. And PPE, we can provide high quality ear protection and ensure employees are trained on its proper use. Now, by following these steps, we systematically reduce the risk associated with the hazard. Remember, successful implementation relies on active participation from everyone, which include consultation, training, feedback. Workplace signage plays a critical role in maintaining safety and ensuring compliance with health and safety standards. Signs communicate essential information quickly and effectively, guiding employees and visitors to make safe choices and avoid hazards. Now, as you can see, the types of workplace signage and their purposes are on the screen. So, danger. So these signs are used to warn people of immediate hazards that could result in death or serious injury. Mandatory signs, so these indicate actions that must be carried out to ensure safety, such as wearing personal equipment. Hazard warning signs, so these warn about potential risks, such as slippery floors, low ceilings, or uneven surfaces. Emergency signs, these provide information on emergency exits and first aid locations and things like assembly points. Fire signs, these indicate the location of fire extinguishers, hoses, and alarms. Prohibition signs, so these show actions that are not allowed, such as no smoking or no entry. Restriction signs, so these highlight restricted areas or activities, such as authorized authorized personnel only. And the last one there is dangerous goods. So these indicate areas or items that involve hazardous substances, such as flammable liquids or corrosive materials, and ensure proper handling and storage is also. Reporting hazards. Okay. Now, effective hazard reporting is very important in any workplace when it comes to health and safety. It allows potential risks to be addressed before they lead to incidents, ensuring a safe environment for everyone. Let's have a look at the main method of hazard reporting and why they are so important. So, workplace procedures. Every workplace should have a clear process of identifying and reporting hazards. The procedures ensure consistency and compliance with regulations. Workplace forms. So many organizations provide specific forms for reporting hazards. These forms guide employees through the process of providing necessary details, such as the type of hazard, its location, and the potential risk it poses. Managers or supervisors. So supervisors and managers play a critical role in reporting hazards. They are often the first point of contact for employees to report issues. Their responsibilities include acknowledging reports, investigating hazards, and ensuring appropriate action is taken. Regular team or safety meetings provide an opportunity to discuss hazards, sharing updates on risk management, and also encouraging open dialogue about safety concerns. Hazard reporting is important because it allows risks to be addressed proactively, preventing injuries and incidents. It also fosters a culture of safety where employees feel empowered to report concerns. Accurate and timely incident reporting is crucial for workplace safety. Reporting incidents ensure that risks are properly addressed and helps prevent similar occurrences in the future. I want to break down into three categories highlighted on the screen. So the first one is near misses. So a near miss is an event that did not result in injury or damage, but had the potential to do so. For example, a tool falling from height and narrowly missing someone's head. So why do we report near misses? They provide valuable insight into potential hazards and risks. Reporting near misses allow for proactive measures to be taken before an actual incident occurs. So we're being proactive. So we're putting things into place before an injury occurs. Workplace injuries. So these include any physical or mental harm caused by work-related activities. Why do we report these? It ensures injured employees receive the care and support they require, helps organization identify and mitigate hazards that cause the injury, and complies with work and health and safety requirements and regulations. Notifiable incidents. So these are serious incidents that must be reported to a regulatory authority. They typically include deaths, serious injuries requiring hospitalization, and dangerous occurrences such as the collapse of scaffolding or chemical spills. All right. So near misses are often overlooked, yet they provide critical opportunities to improve workplace safety. These are events where accidents or injuries were narrowly avoided, like we spoke about last slide. So let's discuss the example shown on the screen. So tripping over an extension cord, take outward opening doors, using a chair instead of a ladder, things like that. They're examples of near misses, or could be considered to be near misses if there's no injury. Again, we report near misses because it's a proactive prevention. We want to prevent injuries to happen in the future. So if we see something at work, like a cord, extension cord that's running along the office space, and somebody tripped over it but did not land, did not fall over the ground. They happened to were lucky enough to carry themselves before they fell to the ground, hence avoiding injury. This is what we call a near miss. So we need to report these so we can avoid this from happening to the next person, because the next person might not be so lucky from getting away with no injury. They might have a serious injury. So for the for the for the well-being of the workplace and for the best interest of the workplace, we need to remove that hazard as soon as possible. Now, how everyone can be, how can everyone contribute to avoid or report near misses? We can be observant, report promptly, and encourage others to do so as well. Workplace injuries. So workplace injuries encompass a wide range of physical, psychological, and medical issues that can arise in the course of performing work-related duties. As you can see on the screen, the categories outlined. They're categorized, as you can see on the screen. So the first one there is physical injuries. These include any bodily harm caused by accidents or unsafe work environments, things like cuts, burns, injuries from slips or harms caused by operating machinery. Psychiatric or psychological disorders, so these involve mental health challenges arising from workplace stress or traumatic events like anxiety, depression, PTSD. Diseases, so these include illnesses contracted as a direct result of work. For example, asbestos, um, uh, which is a very hazardous substance that you guys would have heard about. It's been a big issue in Australia's history in the building industry. Deaths from, oh, sorry, what's the next one there? The aggravation of pre-existing conditions. So work conditions can worsen pre-existing health issues. So a worker with chronic back pain may experience further injury due to repetitive lifting. And the last one, there's deaths from injury or disease. Pretty self-explanatory. So things like falling from great heights could lead to death or serious injury. In the event of a workplace injury, it is important to act quickly and follow the appropriate steps to ensure your safety and compliance with workplace procedures. So, some of the things that you should be doing when there is an injury in the workplace is to seek first aid or medical assistance. So, your health and safety are the top priority. If injured, immediately assess the severity of the injury and seek help from a first aid officer or medical professional. Then you need to notify your supervisor, manager, or employee. It's very important to report the injury to your supervisor as soon as possible. Uh, and then in most workplaces, require injured employees to complete specific forms to document the incident. These forms typically include the nature of the injury, how and where they occurred, and immediate actions that were taken. You need to trust the expertise of the first aid officers and medical personnel. Their instructions will help ensure proper treatment and recovery. Follow any prescribed medication or therapy regimens to avoid worsening illnesses or injuries. These steps matter because we gotta take quick action that can reduce the severity of the injury. We need to be able to report and document injuries to ensure that the workplace takes corrective action to prevent future incidents from occurring. And we need to adhere to these steps as it will help meet legal and workplace obligations, protecting both employees and the employer as well. Emergencies can occur at any time in the workplace, and being prepared is key to ensuring the safety of everyone involved. Here outlines an example of how to respond to fire using a fire extinguisher following the PASS method. So the PASS method, you know, is an acronym for pull the pin. Then you got to aim at the base of the fire, squeeze the lever, and then sweep side to side. So general emergency protocols. This is an example of general emergency protocols. So while fire emergencies are one example, every workplace should have procedures for a variety of scenarios, including things like evacuation, medical emergencies, chemical spills, natural disasters. It's important because regular training ensures all employees understand their roles during an emergency. Practicing evacuation drills and fire extinguishers use help um, reduce panic and also improves response times as well. Workplace emergencies can occur unexpectedly and vary greatly in the nature and severity as well. Here it outlines some of the most common types of emergencies that can impact a workplace and the importance of being prepared for each one. Fire is probably one of the most common ones, can start from electrical faults, flammable material, or human error. We've got to ensure that fire extinguishers, alarms, and evacuation plans are in place. Bomb threats, so these can cause panic and disruption. It's important to have clear protocols for evacuation, reporting, and liaising with authorities. Chemical spills, so particularly relevant in industrial and laboratory settings. Spills can pose several health and safety risks. Two, training in handling hazardous material and spill containment is vital. Uh, Four, lockdown situations. So these could rise from threats like intruders or active shooters. All workplaces should have clear lockdown procedures and communication plans. And the last one is natural disasters. So things like earthquakes, floods, or storms can impact workplace safety. Having an emergency kit and knowing evacuation routes can make a significant difference if the emergencies do occur. All right. So let's take a moment to summarize what we've covered today. So this session was centered around proactively contributing to a safe and healthy workplace environment. We focused on areas such as contributing to safe workplace, participate in consultation, understand the hierarchy of controls, safe work procedures, workplace signage. We looked at hazard reporting, reporting incidents, and emergency procedures. So this session highlighted that maintaining a safe workplace is a shared responsibility that requires things like awareness, engagement from everyone, adherence to procedures, and a commitment to improvement. So by understanding and contributing to workplace safety practices, we can collectively reduce risks and promote a healthier, safer work environment for everybody. Okay. Thank you for listening to the session today. This again was the last session the last session for this unit. I'll see you guys during our live sessions. See you then. Thank you. Okay, welcome everyone to session 2 of unit HLTWHS001. Participate in workplace health and safety. So yeah, like I said, this is session 2. We'll cover the first hour. We'll look at a summary of what this week is all about. Summary of the PowerPoint presentation that you'll find in your learning resources on your portal if you look into it. Also cover the PowerPoint presentation that you will find on your end in the pre-recordings that will be sent out to you guys probably by Friday. But yeah, also important to mention the learning resources. It's always good to go back and uh, especially for your assessments, to go through the learning resources as much as you can, because that's where everything is. That's where all the information for this unit is, and all of the you'll get all the knowledge from there. There's also some video links that will be attached to the email that will further strengthen your understanding of the topic in hand as well. All right, let's kickstart. So we'll do the first hour of covering the content, and then we'll look at assessments and then some role plays as well. You can ask me questions about role play assessments. Okay, so in the spirit of reconciliation, Hattah Institute of Education acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and the connection to land, sea, and community. We recognise Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as the first inhabitants of this nation and the traditional custodians of the land on which we work, live, and study. We express our gratitude for the sharing of this land, our sorrow for the personal, spiritual, and cultural cost of that sharing, and hope that we may move forward together in harmony and in the spirit of healing. We pay our respects to all First Nations people and acknowledge elders past, present, and emerging. Oh. So the 4 main areas that we will be talking about during the live session, and the 4 areas that I cover in the pre-recording, are on the screen. So the first one, contributing to safe work practices. So this week we'll look at how each of us can actively promote and support safe practices in our daily tasks and interactions at work. So this includes following policies, using equipment safely, and fostering a culture of awareness and accountability. The next one there is reporting hazards. Identifying and reporting hazards is a proactive step towards preventing incidents. So we'll look at effective methods for recognizing hazards and ensuring they are addressed promptly and appropriately. And then we have reporting incidents. So when incidents occur, accurate and timely reporting is very important. They help organizations investigate the cause, implement corrective actions, and prevent future occurrences of them incidents. And the last one there is emergency procedures. So knowing how to respond to an emergency, uh, as you can imagine, will save lives and reduce harm. We'll look at common emergency scenarios such as fires or medical emergencies and the procedures you need to follow to ensure safety. And I'll cover this part in length in the pre-recording. Okay. So I don't know why that says youth work. So, oh, safe work. Sorry, I'm reading wrong. So contributing to safe work practices. So safety in mental health environments is very important to both the staff and the clients. So as mental health practitioners or support workers, you'll have the responsibility to identify and implement safety measures that will ultimately minimize risk. This includes understanding your workplace policies, using risk assessments, and following established procedures. So let me ask you guys before I keep talking, what do you think are two ways you guys as mental health workers can contribute to a safe work practice in the environment that you work in? What do you think are two things that you as a worker you can contribute in the mental health setting to ensure safety and security for everybody? Hazy?
I think maybe communication with your fellow employees
Yeah.
about potential risks, or if you've got a client that's hostile at times, it's good to, I guess, to communicate that throughout throughout your peers, just so everyone's aware of who's in the building and whatnot.
Excellent. So open line of communication with the team will definitely minimize risk in the workplace by notifying each other or keeping each other up to date of the risks around, especially with clients. Tony?
Attend all the work health and safety meetings and
Yeah,
trainings and whatnot.
excellent. Yeah, being up to date with all the changes to WHS, the policies and procedures in the workplace, updates on new hazards or updates on agenda items from the last meeting as well, making sure things were rectified that were raised as potential risks. Yeah, excellent. All right. Okay, so in this setting, it's important to also consider things like supervision. So ensuring that your clients are always monitored, especially in high risk situations. Important to be aware of the escalation techniques or be up to date with them. So managing conflicts or aggressive behaviors in a calming manner. Having the ability to notice potential risks such as things like unsafe furniture, exposed wiring, or poor lighting. Following guidelines on responding to incidents, reporting concerns, and using personal protective equipment if necessary. Yasmin?
I'm not sure how much this would contribute, but I kept thinking trust, like creating a trusting environment. I guess that's would extend to the confidentiality of things and showing up when you say you're going to show up, reliability and trust. Yeah, so that's what came to mind, so I thought I'll put my hand up.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so trust with your clients will go a long way in building rapport with your client as well. On top of that, it will go a long way in reducing potential risk in the future as well. So if your client trusts you, they're gonna have that two-way open communication between you and the client, and they're gonna be able to share their frustrations or whatever with you. So that could potentially minimize or reduce risks of hazards as well. Okay. Let's go on. All right, participating in consultation. So consultation is a crucial component of WHS, particularly in mental health settings where the risk can vary daily. It can change, which is probably the most enjoyable part of working in mental health facilities or environments as well, because every day is different. You don't know what you're going to expect from one day to another. But going back to our topic, WHS, by participating in workplace discussions, mental health practitioners or support workers that use safety procedures effectively will be able to address concerns for both staff and the clients so they feel secure in the environment. So in a mental health setting, consultation can take various forms, and they can include team meetings and briefings, feedback sessions with management or supervision sessions with management, incident debriefs, hot and cold ones as well, workplace safety committees, and one-on-one discussions with the supervisor, so informal chats with the supervisor or manager. By actively participating in these processes, as mental health practitioners, you can contribute to the frontline experience to improve policies and procedures, ensure that safety measures are practical and relevant to the changes faced in your field, and also fostering a workplace culture where safety is a shared responsibility rather than just a management direction or a directive from management. Okay. Hazards and risks. So what do you think are the three major risks in mental health, or not the three major, what do you think are the major risks in mental health work, and how can they be managed? So maybe you can give me one, and how do you think that could be managed? Rainy?
I think environmental hazards would be one, as in like it says here, environmental risks. So yeah, whether you're in depending on what room you're in, if there's a panic button in that room, if you've got security on site, just making sure that they're aware of you having an appointment, just knowing your fire exits, your emergency plans, all those sorts of things.
Excellent. Very good. Anyone else? Karen?
Burnout of the
Yeah.
worker, and how to recognize that, obviously. Such things such as carer fatigue and just generally people being out of sorts of their typical persona, being some of the first flags that teammates could notice.
What can we do to reduce that or manage that burnout?
I would suggest there would be a need for better debriefing of team members in the workplace and externally to it.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah. You can also do something called reflective practice. You guys would have heard this, especially for the ones who work in the industry already or who've been studying this for a while. Reflective practice is where you sit in a room with your colleagues and a manager or supervisor, and you talk about the good things that you've done for the day or the week, and some of the areas that you need to improve on as well. And there's also something called the self-care plan that, especially in this industry, mental health, youth work, psychologists use a lot. The self-care plan, the managers put them in a self-care plan where they got to come up with strategies to make sure they manage their stress effectively. So that might be meditating or going to the gym or whatever goal they set for themselves. Mickey?
Yeah, so basically, I just want to contribute to the burnout thing. So I think in regards to the management, they can, like you said, the self-care, like exercise, hobbies, and mindfulness, and also I think support networks and the supervision, like you said, like get all the stuff in a meeting, like that kind of supervision. And also I think maintaining a work-life balance also can help with the burnout. But in general, I think to answer the question about the three major in mental health work, I think it will be mainly aggression, self-harm, and environmental risk and burnout. I think these are the three main common hazards.
How do you think we can
Manage
the self-harm?
So for
Suicide.
self-harm, I think what we can do, for example, in some places they have emergency response protocols. When that kind of happens, they will like it's like an alarm, right? So they'll have certain protocols, so this can help us to react to the self-harm like in an efficient manner. And also I think about safety planning as well. If we have a plan in place when this kind of incident happen, we can just go follow the plan, then also it can save us the time. And maybe we can also refer it to the crisis service or like hospitalization if it's necessary, like they just sent to hospital. I think that this is mainly for this self-harm and suicide risking, like what happens.
Excellent. Yep, spot on. All right, so was anyone else wanted to share anything? Okay. So we're working in this sector, the mental health sector, involves unique hazards and risks, the ones that you guys all mentioned. So, and these must be managed effectively to ensure the safety of the clients, the staff, and also the broader community. So mental health professionals, the support workers and carers must be vigilant in recognizing and mitigating the risk to provide a safer and a more therapeutic environment. Now, the common hazards and risks in mental health include client aggression or violence. So some individuals with severe mental health conditions may experience delusions, paranoia, or agitation, which can result in aggressive or violent behavior. And some of the things that we can do to mitigate the risk is to use de-escalation techniques during that time, non-confrontational communication, ensure staff have crisis response training, and have clear emergency exit routes and a panic button or a duress button in the workplace. Mickey mentioned self-harm and suicide risk. So clients with depression and PTSD or personality disorders may engage in self-harm or suicidal behaviors. Some of the risk management strategies could include, Mickey did mention this, the suicide prevention protocols in the workplace. You can also do regular risk assessments and suicide screening as well. So when you meet a client for the first time, that's generally what needs to be done. Is there's a whole bunch of questions that you'll be asking them about to find out about their current situation and about their current mental health. So that's a good example of that. And also to provide crisis intervention training for your staff. Rainey?
Yeah, just on what you just said, like when you first initially see a client, when you those questions that you'd be asking them, are they usually questions set out by the organization, or are they just questions, do you know what I mean? Are they just questions that you sort of learn to ask as you get better with experience?
It will be questions, screening questions that are I guess, endorsed and approved by the organization.
Yeah.
And they will be obviously guided by their standards as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think another one would be exposure to trauma and fatigue as well. I think we spoke about burnout. Karen brought up the burnout as well, and so trauma exposure to trauma could cause burnout for stuff, or does cause a lot of burnout for people in the workforce. So things that we can mitigate, try to do to mitigate that would be providing debrief sessions, peer support, like we spoke about self-care strategies, and offering clinical supervision and employment assistance programs, EAPS as well. Okay, let's move on. Okay, eliminating or minimizing risk. Tony? Just on mute, Tony.
Sorry.
Yeah, right.
Just going back to your trauma, there's also vicarious trauma, which is when you don't actually experience the trauma yourself. It's you as you listen to everyone telling their stories, it affects your personal life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which is a very common trauma. So even if probably a good example would be people watching the news as well. That causes vicarious trauma. You may not be going through the event, but by just watching it or witnessing something could cause trauma as well. A lot of people who witness car crashes or murders or, traumatic events go through vicarious trauma. Yeah. Karen?
My job caused some serious vicarious trauma with working in the court system.
Imagine it would, yeah.
On a daily basis, and having to transcribe victims or survivors or witnesses, as they must be called, complainants. That was 9 years of that, and that kind of had me sitting again. I don't like people very much.
I don't blame you, especially after working.
Well, you get the end result as
Yeah.
well. I have to listen to all that every day. Not nice.
All right. So what are these questions? What are the 3 ways to minimize risk in mental health, and why are they important? Using strategies like supervision, de-escalation techniques, and self-care plans. Okay, we spoke about that in the last slide a little bit. Let's talk about it here too. Don't mention the ones on the screen, but what do you think are some other things that we can do to eliminate or minimize risks in mental health facilities or mental health community centers? Tony?
If possible, try to know the baseline of your client, like go back, read files, see if they're aggressive or incident reports, whatnot, things like that.
Excellent. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I was gonna say it's probably the best thing we can do. It's one of the best things, or one of the go-to things that you should be doing is learning about your client as much as you can before you have that first interaction with them. It's very common with in workplaces like correctional facilities or youth justice centers, because we've got the ability, because we know the clients well, especially if they've been in the system. So we've got all the case notes, alerts, incident reports, behavior reports. We've got all the reports from the hospitals, the psychologists. So we get all this information before you even get to meet the client. So if you got that, if you got access to that sort of avenue, that was the first thing I'll be doing. So if you get a new client in, The first thing I'll be doing is getting to know as much as you can about them, which will go in a long way of mitigating hazards as well, because the way you approach clients might not be appropriate to the client that's come to see you in about 10 minutes. So if you find out that he doesn't like eye contact and you like staring at your clients and you like that connection with your clients, knowing that information will go a long way in reducing that risk or even eliminating that risk as well. All right. So eliminating or minimizing risks in mental health, again, is very important for the safety and well-being of everyone. So since mental health work involves supporting individuals with complex needs, trauma, and other levels of distress, it is very important to implement proactive risk management strategies. So the one we've been speaking about just now, about, going back and doing your homework, checking the history. Things like active supervision and support is very important. De-escalation techniques for crisis situations is very important. You got to train, or you got to train yourself in how to communicate calmly, also in a non-confrontational way, both verbally and through your body language, and also displaying active listening to reducing tension. Okay, silence doesn't mean you're listening. You got to show the client that you are listening, and you do that by eye contact. You do that by repeating what they've said, and you summarizing what they have said to you, or asking them follow-up questions about the information they provided to you. Showing an empathetic facial expression as well will go a long way. Keeping your hands open, not having your arms crossed, not putting your leg over your knee, doing little things like that will go a long way when it comes to active listening. Okay. Also using time, space, and redirection techniques. This will help in diffusing aggression before it escalates. Again, self-care and burnout prevention for staff, and clear safety protocols and emergency responses as well, plans around them areas. Okay. Okay, safe work procedures. So following safe work procedures is important in any workplace, but when it comes to mental health settings, it's very important because it protects both you and the client, physically and mentally. There's another layer to this in this workplace. We've got responsibility in terms of the physical well-being, and we've also got a lot of responsibility when it comes to the mental health as well. In terms of WHS, so mental health professionals often work in environments where unexpected situations will arise, including crisis, medication management issues, and confidentiality concerns. So ensuring that clear guidelines are followed will reduce the risk and improve the safety in your workplace. So key safe work procedures in mental health include following workplace policies and procedures, reporting issues and concerns immediately, and clear and consistent communication. So this is about effective verbal and written communication that will ensure that mental health, your team in the mental health sector work cohesively. For example, it could include things like providing shift handover notes with accurate client updates, documenting observations properly in client notes, using respectful professional language, when discussing client needs with your team members as well. And of course, proper handling of confidential information is very important. So clients share sensitive personal details, and it is crucial to maintain privacy confidentiality. So for those that have been studying this course for a while and have done role plays, that's one of the main things that we want you guys to display during your role plays is how do you establish to your client, or how do you around the topic of privacy and confidentiality. So it's a very important topic, especially working with clients. And one of the first things you need to do is to establish that and to make them feel comfortable and about the topic of privacy and confidentiality, and let them know that you've got policies and procedures in place in the workplace that governs your work and ensures that whatever the client tells you will be kept private and confidential, unless, of course, it's harm. It will cause harm to them or other people. Okay. And also, probably something worth mentioning is PPE. You're not going to get a lot of this in mental health facilities unless we get COVID-20 coming out soon. Otherwise, you probably won't see it in the mental health, especially in community environments. But in some settings, PPE such as gloves or masks is required to prevent the spread of infections or protect staff from hazardous exposures. Okay. Emergency procedures. Okay. All right. So emergencies can happen at any time. In mental health settings, especially. So in having clear emergency procedures in place is very important to ensure the safety of your clients, your staff, and the visitors. So mental health professionals must be prepared to respond to different types of emergencies, including medical incidents, behavioral issues, fires, lockdowns, and environmental hazards. So the question there is, what are 3 key emergency situations in mental health settings? I'm not going to ask you that because that's pretty straightforward. I want to ask you guys, have you ever been involved in a serious incident? And how did you manage that? Were you in the position where you had to manage that situation? And how did you do it? It could be anything from, yeah, Monica?
Okay, it wasn't in an emergency situation, but I'd like to just bring it to point that I was actually taking my brother into one because he was in a severe state. And I'd never been in one before. And I actually felt more terrified than he did, sitting and waiting, because they didn't say anything to me about where my exits were. And I was locked in a room. Okay. With everyone else. So it was kind of like, from me, I would have at least liked to acknowledge where my exits were and stuff as well for any emergency that I had. I'm not well trained in that at all at the time. This was like 3 years ago. And yeah, it was quite terrifying.
Was he going for an episode in the hospital or?
Well, I was his like safe place. So he was staying with me at the time, and he requested to go there because he knew. So, yes.
Okay, so you had a situation at your home?
I've had several. Yeah. But I don't see them as, it's sort of different because it's my brother. So I sort of, it's not a client. Whereas if it was a client, I wouldn't tolerate what I tolerate from him. Yeah, but that makes sense. And I understand him now due to going and learning about it. So
yeah, but from that unfortunate experience, you've got lived experience now. So you're able to.
I do. And I look for every exit.
Yeah, you're able to use that for if you do get in the field in mental health, you can use that. So during that situation with your brother, what did you make sure of? Like, what are the things that you made sure that you were doing to make sure that situation didn't get worse?
I was extremely calm because he is a sociopath.
Yeah. So
I show no emotion,
yeah, excellent.
but I engage with him and tell him nothing but truth.
Yeah. So that's very good. That's another good tool when especially when negotiating or
Yeah.
trying to calm
You
people.
never lie to them. You never anything. You don't
Right.
show anything like that.
Don't promise them the world. Yeah,
Yeah.
you never promise them something you can't deliver.
Correct.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Monica. Aaron?
Yeah, just knowing where like things like fire extinguishers are, like knowing the precise locations of them, and also knowing what sorts of fire extinguishers to use for different types of fires.
Yes, very important. And where would you find that information?
Um, I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. I mean, you'd probably be able to find that out if you had an induction at a place or
Yeah.
first time you go there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um,
It should be on the fire extinguisher also.
oh
And
yeah, the information on the
yeah.
of what sort of extinguisher it is would be on the
Right.
extinguisher, yeah.
And if you find in good workplaces that take WHS serious, they won't put fire extinguishers that are not like they wouldn't put ones in the kitchen.
Mm,
They wouldn't put an electrical fire extinguisher in the kitchen when they know there's water there. You know,
that's right.
so
Yeah.
they make sure they put the right fire extinguishers in the right spots.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. Mickey? Mickey, you're right.
Yeah, just a signal dropped. It's
Oh,
okay. Now it's
yeah.
just come back to place. So I guess I'm lucky enough not being exposed to like that kind of in like situation in a mental health environment, but um I kind of like encountered incidents when I was a student. I was like working in Woolworths, so I'm not sure this counts, use work setting, but I guess the strategy and will be similar. So what happened is, I think it's like very old senior guy just slept in the store, and I think he just broken his back, so he was not able to move at the time. So I was just literally next to him. So what I did is, firstly, I've just started asking like how does he feel? Firstly, let's try to calm him down, and then we have to try to clear the space as well, so that there's no further damage for this poor gentleman. And then, because we don't know what exactly his injury are, he said I can't move, I broke my back, and we can see he's in pain. So, and the next step, we just call the ambulance, and and try to seek the medical help from the professionals. But in the meantime, before the medical staff arrive, we just try to give him like some cold back, but without moving him, because if he say he can't move, it's kind of like very dangerous. If you try to relocate the guy or move him, maybe there will be incur some further damage. That was in our training, actually, the staff training. So that's what we did. So basically, just try to calm him down and give company until the professional come.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, spot on. So yeah, you pretty much covered step by step action that you will take in pretty much any medical situation or most emergency situation. Is the first thing you would do is to establish communication. The next thing you would do is to make sure the environment is clear and safe for the injured person or for the emergency area. And then seek for help or ask for help or ask for assistance from other people, medical professionals that can deal with that situation. In your case, was calling the ambulance, which was excellent. And until they came, just to make sure he stayed safe and calm by communicating with the client, just keeping him, his mind at ease while everyone came to attend to help him. Rainey, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was just gonna share a story. It wasn't that long ago, maybe it was just before Christmas at work. We like our shop is it's in like a cul-de-sac, and there's a pool shop that's next, like across the road from us. And yeah, we rocked up to work one morning and there was an elderly lady. She was, probably in a, I guess 70s or 80s, and it was a Monday morning, and she'd obviously, I don't know how, but she had severe dementia and Alzheimer's. And for somehow she's got in there on the Sunday night, and then they've gone home and they've locked up the store, and then I've come to work on the Monday morning, and I could see her, like, she was just wandering around in the store. So yeah, we had to like, I tried getting communication with her, but it was so hard to even like get her to unlock the door of the shop. Like, obviously she was so she was so old that she couldn't, and her dementia was so bad she couldn't understand what I was trying to say. So yeah, we had to wait for the pool people to come and open up the store, and then sort of try to establish what had happened. And what had happened is she'd walked out of her retirement home on the Sunday afternoon and just went walkabout, and then ended up going in the back of the store, and then they've gone out the front door and shut it up. So yeah, we had to sort of just keep her calm and try and explain what was going on. But that was really hard at the same time, because she was so disorientated. The communication was pretty poor. So we just ended up calling the police, and the police turned up, and they'd actually, the husband had actually put in a missing report for, like, regarding her that morning. So they sort of knew exactly who she was and whatnot. And then the ambulance and stuff came, and they took her back to her. I'm not sure if they took her to the hospital or, but she'd managed to go into the staff room where she was locked in, and she managed to eat some food out of the fridge, and there was plenty of water and that there. So she did well for the state that she was in,
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Yeah. So what do you think? So that pool shop, if they had a WHS meeting or a briefing afterwards, what do you think are some of the areas that they could improve on?
Oh, they definitely just, after that, you'd probably want to do walkthroughs every night, wouldn't you? After, because there's two entrances, and
yeah,
you just want to make sure that didn't happen, because she didn't have water, or she could have had a fall, or it could have been really bad. Like, I was pretty dumb. I couldn't believe it. It was a crazy
story. Yeah. I think one thing that came to my mind when you explained it was to have them emergency doors where they automatically lock.
Yeah.
Even if you open it, it's going to lock. And the only way to open that door is from the inside, not the outside.
Yeah, no. So I think what had happened is there's a front door to go into their showroom, and then there's down the side of the building, there's a big roller door, obviously, where the forklift and stuff come in. So I think she's gone in through that back door where the forklift goes in, and then when they've closed up, she might have been in the toilet, or I'm not sure about the actual, how it actually happened, but yeah, it was pretty hectic.
That's crazy. All right, thanks for sharing that story. Anyone else, guys? No. So emergencies, as you heard, can happen anytime in any setting and have To have clear emergency procedures in place is very important in ensuring safety for everyone, visitors, staff, and your clients. So mental health professionals, you must be prepared to respond to different types of emergencies, including it could be medical incidents, behavioral crisis, it could be fires, lockdowns, environmental hazards as well. So common emergency situations in mental health work are things like psychiatric or behavioral crisis. So clients may experience panic attacks, psychotic episodes, or suicidal situations or crisis. So some strategies to deal with that would be using calm, non-threatening communication, ensuring the client and others are safe by removing potential hazards, and contact the appropriate mental health crisis team or emergency services if required. Another one is self-harm or suicide attempts. So a client may attempt to self-harm using sharp objects, overdoses or medication, or engages in suicidal behavior. So some response strategies could be, again, staying calm and reassuring while removing any dangerous objects, provide immediate first aid if necessary, and follow workplace suicide response protocols and notify medical staff. And then we've got things around other emergencies like fire and smoke, lockdown, a security threat or bomb threat as well. Rainey?
Yeah, just on that. So say if you're, I don't know how to word it. If you're in a, say if you're in an appointment with a client that's having, I guess, maybe a psychotic episode and they're, you know, so let's just say, for example, they pull out a razor or pull out a knife and start cutting themselves. Yeah, like what? How would you go about that? Like, you're not allowed to physically restrain people. Do you know what I mean? Like, how would you? Because me as a person, like, that's what I would want to do. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's
yeah. Are you talking about in like a community center setting, like, or a mental health?
Yeah, or just in a broader sense, like not necessarily in a specific setting.
Yeah. So if you're talking about in community settings, if a client is self-harming in front of you, by cutting themselves, by causing superficial cuts, I will ask them to stop first.
Yeah.
Just, try to calm them down. But if they're not calming down, I would use force and stop them.
Right. Okay.
And I'm sure that would be covered under some legislation.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Because look, it's your client's with you for help, and it's your duty of care to help him and provide. And you got duty of care for his safety and security. And if if she or he is harming themselves in front of you, and you've tried to talk to them, verbally try to deal with the situation, and it's not working. And in the meantime, you call for assistance, but you can see, she's at risk to hurt herself seriously. You have to use force. You got to do whatever you got to do to protect that client.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And sometimes using force is, unfortunately, the last resort.
Yeah.
In them situations. Yeah.
Right.
Alona?
I witnessed like having a gun, and my grandmother was really good in like de-escalating the situation. Like it's like a community setting, and the other one as well was like a sharp knife or something like that. And what she did was very like she had like supporting and like negotiating, but in a very kind and calm voice. And until with this person started to but because at the beginning it was really outrage, and then keep on negotiating, she did. And until they got the weapon from him. And what they did is as well to let him sat down and keep on talking. And that is the strategy she was using on how to de-escalate the situation. Keep on negotiating. And sometimes the abuser or the person who has this weapon, if a little bit of words, to what I noticed was a little bit of words were gonna trigger and it gonna like a fire again. What I mean? So she was very careful of the words she said to de-escalate the situation.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, very good example.
Until they're gonna take away the weapon. Because that's what they're really aiming to get the weapon from him.
Yeah, that's right. So during them situations, best to stay calm, use appropriate language, and you got to make sure you don't say anything to trigger or insult the person.
Yeah, that's what she did. It's just like very calm, very positive approach until this person realizes that what he's doing is not right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's so did that end up resolving safely?
Yes, it is. It is because you can't really saying the words like like blaming. You can't. It doesn't work that way. So you have to like what she did was like encouraging words.
Excellent.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Alana.
You're welcome.
Monica.
Got it. Nailed it. Hey, I was just wondering, like we all go, like it's like we go into a little zone when we experience these sort of things anyway, and adrenaline and stuff kick in, and we all actually respond pretty much straight as we want to. I was wondering from your experiences, what have you experienced that sort of caught you off guard, or do you have any? Or
yeah, I've been involved in
any that you're allowed to share, just to give us insight too.
Yeah. So I've been involved in thousands of incidents where I've managed self-harm, suicidal attempts, or bomb threats, or unit refusals, hostage situations, pretty much everything in correctional facilities. But the one that I can't get used to is young people self-harming. That's one thing I do manage well, but that's something I can never get used to. Some people say, the more incidents you see and the more things that you are exposed to, you tend to get desensitized to it, but I don't think you can with young people hurting themselves. That's one thing I can never get used to. And the only way that I manage myself in that is I talk to myself mentally, saying, all right, it's time to switch on. It's time to stay calm. You're going to enter this room now. You know what you're going to see. You're not going to like it. So stay calm. You don't want to frighten the young person. You don't want to cause any more stress than you have to. So just stay calm and try to support the young person the best you can. And I start talking to myself. I just keep telling myself, this is what you need to do. This is how you need to do it. And this is how it's going to be done. So I'll coach myself before I open that door. So that's one way. That's one thing.
Yeah.
Especially in
and definitely, keep them going.
Yeah.
No, I really appreciate that. Thank you. Like it's good to hear. Like everyone has their own different experiences, so it's good to hear that someone else has similar ones. Yeah, it doesn't desensitize you,
No, well, some people do, but some things there's some things they're not gonna. It doesn't matter how many times you see it; it's just gonna feel the same every time you see it. Yeah. All right, Aaron.
Yeah, I could imagine the staying calm aspect would have to be one of the most important parts for the worker. Like, you know, because if you start going off the rails a bit, you're not going to be thinking clearly and all that sort of thing. So if you can stay calm right from the start, that's probably one of the best things you could do.
That's right, and you got to be careful with self-harm, because if you show too much, you can screw it up in a lot of ways. So if you attend to a self-harm situation and if you show too much empathy, then you're sort of stroking, or you're sort of
Feeding it.
you're feeding that behavior. But in the other hand, if you're too hard on him and you say, "What are you doing, mate? Why would you do that to yourself?" And then you're affecting him in a different way as well. So it's very important the way when you approach them sort of situations, that you're neutral, that you show a bit of empathy, but you're not, but you're also not, you're non-judgmental as well in the same time. But you got to find the happy medium when dealing with clients, and your focus has got to be is to deal with the situation and to get that potential weapon off the young person or the client, and to resolve that current incident as soon as possible.
Are there some sort of like negotiation sort of techniques when it comes to that sort of thing?
It's a bit different in a correctional facility, because
Mm.
the inmates know that if they don't listen, that there's other things that we can do
Mm.
to stop the situation. So with me, it's a bit easier for me to get what I want with clients.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they know if they don't listen, I can use other avenues as well.
Yeah.
Last resort situations. But in the community, unfortunately, they don't have them resources. So
Yeah.
in the community, for young person, especially in a residential care facility, if a client is refusing, it's usually a one-on-one situation. So if the client is self-harming and you've exhausted all the negotiation you possibly can, you call emergency services and they just taking too long to come, and you're left with no other option but to use force, but you're by yourself, then you have to make that decision, don't you?
Yeah.
But I think before you get to that point, when it comes to self-harm, and if a client's got a weapon or implement to hurt themselves, it's very important. The first thing you got to do is obviously stay calm, open communication, trying to get them to talk about what's going on. So there's obviously a problem, so we've got to find out what the problem is, right? So you got to find out about, what's going on, Jimmy. Tell me why why you're so upset. What's going on? Did you have a bad phone call? Did your girlfriend say something? Did your mother say something on the phone? Did your mates do something? Try to uncover what's going on. And once you start getting them to communicate about what's happening, that's the start of that process, isn't it? And then you got to start focusing on the weapon. So now you got to start thinking about ways on how we're going to get him to give that weapon up.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, it's yeah,
Mm.
it's very complicated, but I'm sure you guys will get into them situations, especially if you get into this field of mental health. Especially if you're working with young people, you'll see it a lot. Working with young people. Mickey?
Oh, so it's just like all those talks is really just remind me of all those movies I've seen, like when you see a hostage situation, or like say when people is trying to be suicidal or try to commit a suicide. And normally in those kind of movie, you can see all those guys like from FBI, from the police force. I don't know how do they call, like let's say a negotiator or something, right?
Negotiator,
Yeah, so especially in that kind of like a suicidal situation, right? Like say someone just want to jump off the building,
yeah.
and the negotiator just will come, like you said, just get her to talk, right?
Yeah.
It's just really like a movie scene to me. But also, like, I want to add something is cool. I think the validation is also very important, right? Because
Yeah.
sometimes will get people to talk about things that automatically make people feel better. But at the same time, I think by adding like validation for their feelings is also, I think, very important, because like for me, this is what I keep telling myself when I'm not feeling good. I keep telling myself like it's okay to be not okay.
That's right. Yeah.
Like I think that's the purpose of the Are You Okay Day in Australia, right? I think in the school sometimes they have a day called Are You Okay Day. You wear some like colorful clothes and keep asking people that, or asking your classmate, are you okay today? Something like that. I think this is just like the purpose of the day, just by validate people's feelings and let them to talk about what has been happening. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, very important. It's in them situations, validating the person's feelings on how they're feeling at that moment will go a long way in building rapport and trust in that situation as well. So if you build that, your aim should be building trust and rapport with the client during them high risk situations, because that way there's going to be more chance of you getting the client to do what you want them to do, which is to stop self-harming. Alona?
I'd just like to add to what you said. Keep the person talking, because sometimes when the person is having like intended to killing some other person, the keep on talking is also another approach to divert sometimes the thoughts.
Yeah.
Because that's what my grandmother used, because she used to be really good in this is in a village in a way, and she handles two different minority leaders. And sometimes these because these both minority leaders, they have their called like they have their own warriors, and some they are very like hard-headed, and she's being respected because she's really good of negotiating for them, like especially the tribal. And what she did was she have a really good approach by keep on talking with the person who has this weapon, either with a big like what you call like sometimes the weapon is not that small, but it's just a big one. And that really, you can see that it's really a crisis situation. And what she did is keep on talking, because it also a good approach to divert the person's thoughts, just in case of really intended to kill someone.
Yes. Sounds like that was a very stressful event, Alona.
Kayan, I grow up with it. It's really, I would say so.
Yeah.
It's really nerve-wracking, really nerve-wracking.
Yeah, it is. But you mentioned a very, very good thing is to take the focus away from the perpetrator as well, to make them the focus on something else is very important.
Yeah. Because if you not keep talking, they could think it's right away. And any minute it's counting.
Yeah, that's right. All right, well, Tony?
Hi. I just wanted to ask you, Cyan, basically before you said in a government residence you can use force if you need to stop or help a young person who is harming themselves. I used to work for a non-government organization in youth work, and we were actually no restraint at all. And that was one of our big policies. I had to watch a lot of young people harm themselves from that policies, because we basically, threw them a towel or something and asked them to try to stop the beating or whatever themselves. But I know even one instance, and I can talk about it now because I'm out of confidentiality, thank you, for 10 years, was she even hung herself at the age of 15, and a worker was unable to get her down. and in that industry, a lot of them were female workers.
Yeah.
And I was just, and this is a bit of Rainey's question too. As a female, and I'm not, well, I sort of am being a bit sexist here, but sometimes we don't have that strength to actually forcibly stop someone from doing something. And in our situation, we basically had to take on the risk of a worker. What risk was it to us to stay with them? Or did we leave and get more authoritative help, meaning police, ambulance, all that sort of stuff, and then still follow procedure, like call on call, call superiors, do all that sort of stuff? But
yeah, you've done the right thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was basically that we weren't allowed to stop them. So this subject's bringing up big vicarious trauma here for me. But yeah, so I was just wondering, so that's in a government
that's a good
position,
point.
you are allowed to,
So when it comes to correctional facilities, the one where I work, use of force is allowed for various reasons. But you're right, when it comes to community or residential.
Yeah, we were out of home living.
Yeah, when it comes to residential facilities,
Yep.
especially around young people, there are a lot of organizations that have policies that say you can't use force for any reason. But I guarantee you there's legislation that override that. So if a young person is going to hurt himself and you're able to stop them, and you'd make the decision to stop them after exhausting all your other options, you'll be covered under legislation. 100%, you'll be covered under legislation. And if they dismiss you unfairly, you can take them to court and you'll take them to. But I understand people don't want to.
I wish I'd known that at the time.
But I understand people don't want to go through that, all that heartache and this and that. But for my peace of mind, if I knew a young person was going to hurt himself and potentially cause,
harm,
harm, I would use force.
Yeah, we did really good training called therapeutic intervention program, which sort of, because we knew the client so well, it was about bringing them back to baseline before they got into that crisis situation and in the incident, because that's when nothing works.
Well, yeah, the last resort. So when we're talking about strategies in dealing with situations, especially around self-harm and suicide, we've got to look at it like the Maslow hierarchy of needs, the pyramid.
Yeah.
The pointy end is the last resort when it comes to critical management, and last resort is like punishment or isolation or using force. That's 1% of the response. The other 99% is where we need to come in and do our work, is building trust, providing a safe environment,
communication,
implementing preventative measures to hopefully prevent them situations from occurring. So that's where we got to look at. But as we all know, in some cases, in a lot of cases, it does that them pointy ends do come up a lot, and you've got to have the know-how and the knowledge on how to deal with them situations as well. Yeah.
So another sort of thing I was thinking of is making sure that your own exit is clear in a room with the client.
Yeah. You've got to be familiar with your workplace. You've got to make sure, so this is very hard for casual staff members who work in residential facilities as well, because sometimes they could see a new placement every single shift. So if they go to a new house, they'll be like, brand new house, they've got to walk through, make sure they familiarize themselves with all the exit points. Where's the staff room, where's the kid, they got to, it can get tricky, especially if you're employed casually.
Yeah, even not blocking yourself into a corner of the room.
Yes.
The client blocking the exit.
Yeah. And you got to check all the rooms as well, because some doors might not be working. You don't know the facility well. Some doors might be permanently locked. Some of the rooms, the lighting might not be working. Some of the emergency exits might be deadlocked because they don't want, they might have issues with the clients running away from that side.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things we've got to check. Yeah. Aaron?
Yeah, is it the sort of thing as well where like, with a very serious situation where if you're obviously you obviously could be in danger as well. Is it a sort of thing where you could almost like if the situation is really that serious, could you get in trouble for basically, I mean, trying to intervene but not successfully being able to, and something serious comes of that? Is that a risk as well as being in trouble
Yeah.
for?
So yeah, most of you would have done your first aid certificates, I imagine, at one point or another. And one of the first things they say there, if you're not able to assure your own safety before providing medical assistance to someone that's hurt, then you shouldn't be helping the client at all. So if you're, for example, to give you an example, if you see a client on a busy road, on a highway, and he's laying flat on the ground, but it's a risk for you to get to him to provide first aid, then you shouldn't be doing that because it's a risk for yourself. So if you can't assure your safety first, then you shouldn't be really providing anyone else anything until you can establish your own safety first.
Yeah. So as long as you've done that, assured that, like as in say if you've made the decision that it wouldn't be safe for you to do something, then in that case, basically you go down, calling emergency services.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, spot on. Mickey?
Actually, I just have it's more like a question I have is because that's what my husband used to tell me. I'm not sure that's true or not. It's like let's say if someone is having, let's say, a drowned, or someone is like I don't know, it's just got some problems, and is in a immediate needs of CPR. Let's say, and you are just the trained person of providing the services. So I'm not sure this is true or not. It's like once when you start doing the CPR of the, like say, the person in need, does it has to, like, you have to keep doing it until the professional service come? You can't just stop in the middle. Is there something like a regulation or rule like that, or?
I'm not 100% over first aid obligations and all that, but I know a couple of things certainty. If you are trained in first aid, and someone does require CPR, you are obliged to provide CPR. So you have to, or you will be legally you'll be facing a legal action. In terms
Really?
Yeah, if you got a first aid certificate and you see someone that needs CPR, and you don't provide CPR when you can, and when
Okay.
and if it's safe to do so, and if you don't, you can be charged. Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So on top of that, if you are providing CPR and for some reason you can't do CPR for a long period of time, well, then you just do it as long as you can. Do it as long as you possibly humanly is possible for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And let's say if the people who's receiving the service, let's say, unfortunately, really, really, let's say, lost his or her life during the whole CPR process, I won't, like, say, the person who provide the service won't be liable, right?
No.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah. I'll tell you an example. When I was a kid, I saw a car accident where a young girl got ran over.
Oh.
An adult ran over and provided CPR. I think I was around 9 or 10 years old. Provided CPR. Ambulance was taking forever to come. And the adult was getting really tired, so he got someone else to come to do CPR. And that person clearly didn't know how to do it, but he was saying, just put your hands together and push. Just push the chest down. So he
Okay.
got him to do that for a minute or two until he got his energy back up, and then he went and took over.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Okay. It seems you're being exposed to a lot of incidents. Okay. Okay. Great to know. Thank you for the knowledge.
All good. All right, let's skip all this. Let's go to the case study before we have a break. All right. So Jess, so I use a youth work example. So Jess is a youth worker in residential care home that supports young people with trauma backgrounds and behavioral challenges. One evening, Sam, who is 15 years old, receives a phone call from his mother, which quickly turns into an argument. Sam becomes visibly upset. His breathing becomes shallow, fists clenched, and voice raised. As the calls end, Sam starts pacing the room, swearing and throwing small objects such as a cup and a book. Jess immediately recognizes the signs of emotional escalation and begins using de-escalation techniques. She maintains a calm and reassuring voice, keeps a safe distance, and offering Sam options of how he can express his frustrations safely. Despite Jess's attempts to calm him, Sam suddenly throws a chair against the wall and storms out of the room. Jess follows protocol by ensuring that other residents are safe. She does not chase Sam. She alerts her supervisor and documents the incident. Debrief session, possible strategies to prevent similar situations were discussed. Later, Jess sits down with Sam to check in on his well-being, helping him reflect on his behavior and discuss alternative coping strategies for future distressing situations. So what workplace health and safety measures did Jess follow? And two, how could the team improve their approach to de-escalating similar situations? So I'll give you guys, I'll give you 10 minutes. It's not a long case study. I'll give you 10 minutes to discuss it as a group. And then I'll come back and we'll go through it together and we'll have a little break. All right, I'll see you guys in 10 minutes.
Really well.
Has anyone got any idea about this case study?
I just wanted to say thank you too for sharing before. That was beautiful.
Oh, thank you, Monica.
You're welcome. It takes a lot of strength sometimes to share, but it also, like, some of my stories are going to be like a little different too. It's good. It makes me feel like.
Yeah, I agree, Tony. Yeah, well done.
Oh,
I wish everyone would share sort of thing a little bit, because it's sort of, we're in a safe place and it's like debriefing sort of thing.
Yeah.
A bit scarred from all that, Tony.
Yes. I don't work youth work anymore.
Yeah.
Haven't for quite a while. Yeah.
You've done so well. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. So the workplace health and safety measures did Jess follow? Well, it said she followed protocol.
Yeah.
I trying to read the thing. So she didn't follow him out the room.
Yeah.
Because that would have probably escalated him more by the sounds of it. Yeah, she used a reassuring voice, calm, reassuring voice.
Yeah.
And offers how he's, how's he feeling more, has he, express his frustrations.
I feel like if you get to the point and you got into a certain level within this sort of situation, to
You're breaking in and out, Ben. Sorry.
try and I'm about to be like this 15-year-old kid and ring up Optus because my internet keeps cutting out.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Sorry, but what I was
Yeah.
saying was when you get to a point with it, do you feel like it'd be all right to strike a kind of laughter situation to try and flip it?
Yes, I've done that with my brother, and I flip it all the time
That's-
because he's my brother though, and he's
Yeah.
used to me,
But
and I
feel
have
like,
that mentality.
but if you knew this client,
If you knew Sam well enough and
Yes.
worked with him well enough,
yeah,
I've done that in the past.
I just
Like
wanted
if I've
to-
worked with him for 5 years or something.
I wanted to
You
ask
read
you
your
girls-
room. Read
Yeah.
your room.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you girls that, not the teacher. So yeah,
Yeah.
But
No, read your room.
sometimes I think in this situation, and because it
Because
was
others are involved.
that, well, the phone call was from his mother.
but I mean, like as serious as it sounds, and the escalating and the breathing and the clenched fists. I mean, so it's physical abuse, but there's no weapons in sight.
No, but that's him displaying his emotional dysregulation.
Is he
Yeah.
is he just blowing off steam?
Yes, because
that's-
obviously something of his mother's,
Yeah.
you know, like,
Yeah.
so when I worked in residential care, it was usually, so the mother is being the trigger,
Mm.
if that makes sense.
We all have
So
triggers.
that phone call was
Yeah.
the trigger, because it quickly turns into an argument.
Yeah,
Correct.
So while he's on the phone, he's,
Then a panic attack or
he's, frisked is that. So when it ends, he starts, pacing, swearing,
pacing. It sounds like my brother.
throwing small objects.
Then it's all on.
And that's where you notice deregulation in his
Mhm.
emotions.
Yeah.
So she started her de-escalation techniques, which is that talking, deferring, trying to ask what happened in the phone call, what was said,
distraction.
what upset him,
Right.
whatever. But
Questions,
despite
because
her
it's
attempts,
like reverse psychology almost.
yeah,
my
Yeah.
brother rang me saying he was having a panic attack on a train from Melbourne. And I'm like, oh, so where are you going today? And then he started just to de-escalate and bright shiny objects on one side, and he was too busy thinking about where he was going in the first place that he became calm.
Mm.
And totally forgot about the fact that he was having a panic attack.
Well, that's okay. That's good. So that's, a way that you de-escalate.
Yeah, like
similar
every
situation.
situation.
Yeah. Well, that's like question 2. So how could the team improve the approach to de-escalating similar situations?
Oh, sorry, I don't have the questions.
Sorry. No, I'm just trying to do the case study because.
That's all right.
Well, she does a debrief with Sam at the end.
I think that's great.
Aaron, have you got something to say?
I couldn't really think of anything for the second one, to be honest. I mean, I don't work in the field yet, but it seems to me like she did pretty well.
That's what I thought.
But with the first one, all I was just going to say was when I was looking in my notes was that she followed workplace policies and procedures. And incident reporting. Oh, actually, did she do
that's a good one, actually. She
Yeah,
did an instant report straight
Yeah.
away, sort of thing. Yeah. But it's still fresh in her mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I've got.
Yeah.
No, I think she did a brilliant job. She followed everything to what I can see, and she didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. What would you think? Because you're the one who has experience too.
Only in youth work. Well,
I don't want to put you on the spot if you
no,
don't.
I'm just thinking because I was working one-on-one, and this
Ah,
obviously
okay.
states that there
Where
was
you've got other people. Yeah.
in
And that's the difference is
the
where
house.
there's other
Yeah.
people. Yeah.
So hopefully one of the other workers or something went to make sure everyone else was safe in the house.
Correct.
Instead of relying on Jess. But other than that, yeah, I would have just basically, she's done all right, and she made sure she went and checked back on Sam later.
Yeah, and did her debriefing, and
well, once he'd calmed down and de-escalated, obviously he by not chasing after him, that's his way of just leave him alone. He'll calm down, come back.
Yeah.
Which
then,
some people do, and then she checked on him.
And debriefing, sort of like showing him what made him trigger, what, you know, and then like debriefing his feeling like as in that time, and then how do you move forward and what way. But like I used to have to do all these sort of things. Like a lot of the time I was self-taught because I had to think quick because he came up to my house quick because he had nowhere else to go. I had no idea. But you know, a lot of very intuition and what you do in the moment.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, oh fuck, okay. No, all good, all good.
No,
all good.
Come on, mate.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, because look at the age, 15 years old. So like with the whole clenched fists and stuff, like they're the key quick-tempered kind of client you're going to get. Like older people, I feel like you could calm down a lot quicker, but 15-year-olds, I don't know.
A bit irrational.
What's that? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because I mean, I was one myself.
Yeah, that's right. So as young people, your brain has not developed fully, and your emotional part of your brain is still developing.
Yeah.
As with adults, that emotional side has developed, and you're able to reason and show more control over your emotions as well during heightened situations. Yeah.
Correct.
Aaron.
I just thought, I don't know, something that I might try to do is try to de-escalate whilst they're on the phone. You know, as you can sort of see them getting worked up or whatever, like at least just sort of maybe somewhat being there with them and while they're on the phone and just, you know, with eye contact and that sort of thing, just trying to reassure them that, you know, to stay calm and that sort of thing before it gets to that point.
It can work with some clients, with some it might not work. But
it's pretty much like who the client is and whether they like to be told. You can't just tell someone to sort of de-escalate. It's like, it's a lot of sensitive information. That so many variables that happen in a situation that you have to actually take into the equation before you can actually attempt anything.
No one wants to hear to be told to calm down. So I feel like you're going to aggravate them.
So, definitely.
I probably wouldn't use that as an angle.
And it's sort of incorrect
English,
but
I think, Aaron, with some clients you can, like in terms of that phone example, there are some clients that will appreciate that. It's just about knowing your client and knowing the characteristics of them. I know, like in my like in adult and juvenile facilities that I worked in, especially adults, if you tell a grown man to calm down during the phone call, he's not gonna be very happy after he hangs up the phone call.
That's fair.
But some might be. It just depends on how well you know that client.
And how you say it.
And also on how you building the relationship with trust. Then this person will gonna listen.
So that's right. So one of the principles in trauma-informed care, as you guys know or will learn as we go along, is building trust and rapport with your clients is one of the most important principles. So yes, building trust. All right, guys. We'll have a break now. I'll give you guys 10-minute break, and we'll come back and we'll try to cover some assessments or some topics around the assessments. Okay, I'll see you guys in 10 minutes. Okay. I was going through the assessments. I think we spoke about quiz 1 briefly last week. I said that it's probably something you guys can do yourselves. It looks pretty simple, the WHS sort of thing. But if you need any assistance, just reach out to me. Did you guys want to go through the case study, or did you just want to talk about role plays and other things? I'll leave that with you guys. I'm happy to cover anything. All right, I'll just do what I want then.
Cover it all, mate.
All right, let's
just take it away, mate.
all good. We'll go through the quiz then. One sec. I'll just find this quiz.
Is that the first little quiz that you got to get 80% on with work health and safety?
You've got to get 100% on it.
100%. Yeah, you got to get 100% on each assessment.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll go through the case study. So this is task 2. Okay, so the first case study, I'll just read it out for you guys. Let me check if the recording's on. Yeah, perfect. All right, you had an incident at work today. You had to be taken to the hospital, and it was found that you had broken your foot. You were walking down the corridor from the storeroom with a box of paper, the ones that have 5 packets of paper in them. On top of the box of paper, you were balancing a stapler, a box of pens, and a hole puncher. One of your colleagues, Mel, darted out of the staff kitchen because she could hear her mobile ringing at her desk, and she was expecting an urgent call about a referral for one of her clients. You were focusing on trying to balance the items on top of the boxes and didn't see Mel. Mel didn't check the corridor, and she rushed out of the kitchen and knocked straight into you. This made you stumble into the wall, and the items on the top of the box slid off and hit the ground. Unbalanced with a heavy load, you slipped and dropped the box, which hit your foot. The stapler bounced and hit Mel's leg, but she wasn't harmed. The pain was terrible. Mel apologized profusely, but you told her it was your fault because you should have been looking where you were going. You have been so stressed and tired lately with a busy caseload that you haven't been thinking straight. You don't even know why you were carrying the box of paper. You should have unpacked it and carried a few at a time. But you are so busy that you didn't want to waste any time going back and forth. Your supervisor comes and insists. Mel asks where the trolley is. At the last WHS meeting, management has agreed to buy a trolley to cart around heavy items. Someone else pipes up in the background and says it hasn't arrived yet. All right, so part A. You blame the accident on your fatigue and stress levels leading to poor decision making. List 2 things you could do to reduce the impact of stress and fatigue on yourself.
Breathe.
Sorry, what was that?
Breathe. Take a minute to breathe. Absorb what's going on.
Yeah. Slowing things down, breathing. What else, guys?
I think implementing a self-care plan would probably be an option in this, because it's going to reduce the amount of stress that you're under, to give you a chance to debrief and concentrate on yourself.
Yeah, so prioritizing a self-care plan and your well-being. Perfect, yeah. They'll definitely be one of the answers there. What else?
Mindfulness.
That falls under self-care and well-being. Yep. Tony?
Reflection.
Reflection probably falls under self-care and well-being as well. I think a good one would be improving time management and workload.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think the two main ones here would be prioritizing self-care and well-being. And the other one I would think would be time management and workload delegation as well.
So you mean, Kayan, like changing lifestyle?
You're talking about the second part?
Like another question, what another answer as well as an option. It's like having organizing thing, like you need a sleep, you need to have a good sleep, because it's also reduce the stress and fatigue. You need to relax, and then also considering to have a healthy balanced diet.
Yeah, which all falls under self-care.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So you're right.
Oh, good.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. So self-care and well-being. So we're looking at the big picture. So what is it covered? Yeah. Yeah. So when you're in especially if you work in mental health settings, they'll ask you to do yourself own self-care plan or a well-being plan. And in that plan, you can have any goal that you want that you think is going to help you with your personally. So it could be meditation, it could be better sleep, it could be better diet, more exercise. It could be anything.
So you mean the holistic approach?
Yeah, holistic approach. Yeah, that's what self-care and well-being plans are. Yeah, about the holistic, a big picture.
All right.
About looking after the emotional, physical, spiritual, and social. Yeah, excellent. Okay, so question B. So after your accident, you decide to talk to your supervisor about your stress and fatigue levels. Why is it important to report this? Why do you think it is important to report stress and fatigue to your supervisor?
I think it's important to keep your supervisor informed, just to avoid any potential other incidents that could occur in the future.
Excellent.
And a duty of care to himself and the employer and all around.
That's right. You've got a duty of care for everyone.
That's right.
As well. Perfect. Aaron?
Yeah, what I was going to say has actually been covered. All good.
Awesome. Edward?
So they can keep a record on you, and then that way they don't give you like workload, like work overload, and then push you over the limit, and then you blow up or you stop going to work or something like that. They keep you on a record, so then they know, okay, this person isn't doing well for however many days. Maybe I should cut their workload or like give them, I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're right. So the employers are responsible for ensuring a safe work environment for their staff, and workload falls under that. Tony?
Your work productivity hindered.
Yeah,
like your work sort of is like, yeah, you don't do as well as if you're under stress and tired and stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so if it's important to report it because your productivity might be affected as well. So yeah,
that's the word.
Well, good. All right, let's go into C. Your supervisor asks you to complete an incident report. Why is incident reporting important? Why do we report things?
Just to keep on it. Have a record so you got something to fall back on, something to recall.
Yeah.
Just having that structure there for future times when it happens.
Yeah.
You got the
Exactly, yes.
bones, you can generally do it.
Exactly, yeah. So it's legal in WHS compliance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got a legal duty to maintain a safe workplace, and incident reporting is one of them for tracking hazards, like you said, also injuries, breaches of policies as well. Anyone else? Mickey?
Oh yeah, just what I'm about to say, because maintaining the documentation in the workplace, like you said, is a compulsory to the regulations, and also this can offer the feedback and also keep track of the staff well-beings. And yeah, so basically the first one will be to comply with the regulation, and the second one will be just keep record of the staff well-beings. This can also improve the workplace health and the safety. Yeah.
Perfect. Very good. Also, another one worth mentioning. Reason why incident reporting is so important is also to be able to identify hazards and preventing future accidents from occurring. So reporting incidents allow management to assess workplace risk and implement safety measures, like ensuring trolleys arrive promptly for transporting heavy loads. All right, let's go to part 2 of this. So complete an incident report as advised by your supervisor. This can be found here, incident form. So yeah, you just got to complete the incident form. Make sure you fill out all the areas of the form. Don't leave anything blank unless you don't have the information from the case study. Make sure you use the template that's provided to you from the portal. Don't try to make up your own template. I marked a few today that was just completely generated from ChatGPT today, which please don't do that. Try to do as much of the work as you can possibly do on your own. If you need assistance, yeah, go to ChatGPT for a little bit of help, but not all your work, because then really you're not learning anything, and you're really wasting your time here if you go into AI to do all your work. And then part 3 of the case study. What is part 3? So you have been asked to help with the development of a procedure for moving items safely from storeroom around the office, from the storeroom around the office. Your supervisor would like you to make a list of things that employees need to be careful of when doing this. Note that the trolley has now arrived and is located in the storeroom. We've got the trolley's arrived, guys. It's all good now. So make a list of at least 6 safe practices that could be added to the procedure. So what do you think we can add?
I think using, like, just like the 2-person lift and bending with your knees and not your back.
Yeah. Perfect. Implementing safe work practices. Perfect. Yeah. So they should reinforce policy and protocols around that, I would think. Anything else, guys? Mickey?
Maybe provide trainings for the, let's say, the correct way of lifting. So just get it, and also strengthen the supervision, like in the workplace.
Sorry, what was the last part?
So basically, just strengthening the supervision in the workplace.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Anyone else, guys? Tony.
Making sure the trolleys return to the storeroom when not in use.
Yes. Yes, very good. So you're talking about providing a safe work environment. Ensuring security measures are functioning correctly and all the procedures are followed properly and staff are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Yeah.
What about the maintenance?
Yeah, maintenance.
Of any safety gear and
Yeah, making sure all the items are in good use. Identifying and managing work equipment appropriately. Other thing, you can also add things like identifying and managing workplace risks as a responsibility. What else is there? Yeah. Okay. All right, guys, let's just go on to the case study 2 now. Second, let me just find this stupid case study. So item, that's item 4. All right. Okay. Oh, they're quite long, aren't they? All right. Can't even see these properly. There are strict security protocols in your workplace. The front doors are automated and automatically unlock at 9 a.m. and lock at 5:30 p.m. Staff can access the building out of hours by swiping their access card. The building is alarmed, but all staff have their own code and can disable the alarm on entry. The front door can be locked by pressing a button at the reception desk. The door is locked anytime the reception desk is unattended. Clients or visitors can press the button at the door to alert employees to their presence. The waiting reception area and the staff office areas are separate. Workers must come to reception to greet the clients and take them to their office. Clients are escorted out to the waiting reception area once their visit is complete. The door between the two areas is unlocked using the same swipe card for the front door. This stops any unauthorized access and keeps staff safe. Today, the door to the staff area is malfunctioning. It keeps locking and unlocking on its own, and a red light flashes. Everyone can hear the beeping of the mechanism when it locks and unlocks. It's starting to drive everyone mad. The supervisor makes some calls and informs everyone that the usual maintenance company is unable to come today. The other repairer in town is more expensive, so they will need to wait until the usual one can come. In the meantime, staff are asked to keep an eye on the door and observe the area for unauthorized access. The reception area is to remain attended at all times to avoid the risk of clients in the waiting room accessing the staff area. Later that day, you hear someone scream and something being smashed. Everyone goes running to the source of the sound. One of the colleagues is in the office, backed against the wall. One of her young clients is in her office and has swiped the item on her desk onto the floor. They have picked up a chair and are yelling and screaming at her. It is hard to understand much of what the client is saying through all the chaos, but you know they are threatening your colleague. The chair is thrown and hits your colleague on the arm. The situation is taken care of quickly, but everyone is shaken up. Your colleague is taken to the local GP as it is suspected she may have a fracture. It is discovered that the reception desk was left unattended. The receptionist called the office manager and said she needed to go to the bathroom, but she didn't want to leave the desk unattended because of the door not working properly. She was told to go, but be as quick as possible. The waiting room had quite a few people in it, and the manager said no one would attempt to go to get through the door with so many other clients watching. It's obvious that this client, who appears to have come off their medication, overheard the conversation. Wow. All right. So part A, explain the responsibility of the supervisor and office manager for health and safety in the service.
Well, the responsibility of the office manager is to, I guess, go and sit at the desk once, while the receptionist is going to the toilet because the door's broken. And then on the other hand, if it was my clinic, I would just pay the other town repairer to come and fix the door.
Yeah.
Due to, obviously they take a lot of different clients and their clinic's versatile. So they should have already, they should have just got the door fixed, I'd imagine.
Yeah, that's the first thing that came to my mind is obviously money shouldn't come into
safety.
So yeah, come before safety, I guess. I think other things that's definitely one. Other responsibilities of the supervisor or the manager would be to identify and manage the workplace risk appropriately. So assessing the hazards such as the malfunctioning door and take necessary steps to mitigate that risk or minimize the risk. Provide a safe work environment. So to ensure all security measures are functioning correctly to protect staff from harm, or doing whatever you can to mitigate or minimize the risk again. Provide a safe work environment. Ensure all security measures again. Implement safe work practice. So make sure they're following the policy and procedure. Support staff well-being. So make sure they debrief after this is all ended. Emotional support if necessary. And ensure incident reporting and investigations are done appropriately as well. I would imagine would be one of their duties. What about part B? Do you think the supervisor and office manager have met their duty of care obligation? Explain your answer. I'm seeing a lot of no's from shake of the heads. Tony?
I was going to say no. Basically, because they should have had it fixed despite the cost, sort of straight away. And then if they couldn't get it done as soon as possible, still implement the worker on the front desk, but not leave the front desk unattended, even if the office manager or supervisor went and attended the desk themselves.
Excellent. Yeah. It's definitely a no. Yeah. And it's because of all the reasons you just gave. They also underestimated the potential risk as well. During while I was reading, I saw that as well. But yeah, I guess you can always see something good from from any action or any incident. I guess the only good thing that they did during this whole thing was they informed the staff to be vigilant. But talk is cheap. So, you can tell your staff to be vigilant and do their job, but if you're not leading by example and doing what you're supposed to do as a supervisor, then yeah, talk is cheap. Yeah. Part C. What could the receptionist have done differently in the situation that they may have stopped the incident from occurring? So what could the receptionist have done differently in this situation?
Maybe create a buddy system so it's never left at one time.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, buddy system or a backup system before leaving. So the receptionist should have ensured someone covered the reception before leaving instead of simply informing the office manager. Yeah, so taking some responsibility for their role and for their post, making sure the area is attended to while they're not there would be one of the things she would have done. Anything else? Okay, in cases where she couldn't find anyone, she could have also locked the door. the front door temporarily. So since the reception area must be attended to at all times, the receptionist could have briefly locked the front door before stepping away. That could have been an option.
Or maybe she should put a note that this door is would say not functioning well, or need to be under maintenance.
Yeah, definitely. You could put signs up as well. Yeah, or you could put a what do you call it? I know they've got them for wet floors. The posts they put on the ground for wet floors.
Signage.
Yeah, if they can find some sort of signage they could put in front of the door. Yeah, definitely help. Karen?
Is the waiting room had a whole heap of people in it already, so you're talking. Sorry.
Right.
The waiting room already had people in it, so wouldn't locking the door or just have locked them all inside?
Yeah. So yeah, they separate workers must come in reception. Is that what it? Yeah, I can't read. I can't remember what I read, to be honest. But if you're saying, yeah,
the door to the staff area is malfunctioning.
I think they're talking about the office door. I think
yeah.
So if they're in the front foyer, they should be fine. Lock the front door. Lock the front door temporarily. Lock the front door. You're right. Yeah, there wouldn't be any point if there's people inside.
Against work health and safety. Yeah, I like it too. Not with people inside, fire code, everything.
Yeah. So what else would you think you could do, Karen, in this stage, other than calling for backup?
Yeah, I like the idea of buddy system.
Yeah. So buddy system.
Should have taken it upon themselves to have somebody who doesn't have to be a supervisor. It can be a fellow admin person. It can be somebody, anybody. Doesn't have to be a supervisor.
Yep.
There's someone who can come and sit there for 5 minutes.
Perfect. All right. So, all right, the last one there. So, what do you think the supervisor should have done when the door malfunction was identified?
Well, wouldn't the company have their own maintenance protocols?
Yeah, so they got a maintenance bloke, but he's not reachable. So they got to wait a few days for him to come and fix it. And the only other person that can do it straight away, but he costs too much money. So they've decided to wait a few days. So I think
you either cough up the too much money, or you employ a person to stand at the door.
Yeah, I would think you got to prioritize immediate repairs, definitely as the option.
Yeah, but you got to maintain that security.
Yeah, and if you can't afford it, I don't think that if they can't afford that, I don't think they'll be able to afford someone standing in front of the door.
No, it's the cheaper option is to get it repaired by spending the extra money.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, I think that would be one of the options. One of the things they could have done. What else do you think they could have done? Like the supervisor could have done better. So we've got prioritize immediate repairs, possibly implementing security measures like placing a staff member in front of the door.
Should have gone and sat in the reception desk themselves.
Yeah, they could do that as well. They can also put so knowing the door is faulty, the supervisor could ensure that someone was always at the reception during that time. and no staff member was left alone. I guess that's one thing they could do. Then also obviously doing things like a formal risk assessment also during that time, and protocols afterwards. The protocols and that would be updated. As you can see, there was a lot of mistakes that were made during this situation. So after the debrief, they would update their protocols and ensure that the safety of staff and clients were paramount in future incidents, I would imagine. Alona?
Oh, what about relocating?
Relocating
Say for example, if there's in another area of the building.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, depending on the size of the building, the workplace, definitely they could close that part and do all their work.
Diversion, yeah, diverting the reception area.
Yeah, possibly. That could be a possibility, definitely. All right, I think that's the end of it, guys. That's the end of this assessment. All right, so I found this video on conflict resolution because we were talking about it and it got me interested. So I found this video of this hostage negotiator on how to resolve conflict. So let's watch her and see what she says. Let's see how she handles them situations. Hey. All right, what do you think, guys?
Good.
Yeah, very
Powerful.
interesting.
Very interesting, yes.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I loved it. It was like what I do with my brother. I thrived on it. I thought it was great. A few extra little things that she added that are really good. But I always try to challenge him because that's what he needs. He loves it.
Yeah.
And he only responds when I use correct English.
I think that it works on different people, like different tactics work on different people, but that's just like a general rule of thumb for most people, what she was talking about.
Yeah. And I think one thing she didn't mention, but she was trying to display it, was being calm and being able to regulate her emotions by way of talking. So as you can see during the talk, she approached the situation by being calm and trying to display a neutral mindset during the whole talk.
I always asked him what made him feel like she gave that impression, which challenges him back. Like I do it all the time with my brother, and I have to, because his mind is so full on. And it's like you sort of almost trip them over on their own sort of quest because they're mass manipulators. But yeah, it's sort of, yeah, it's my only reprieve that I sort of kept where I can have a moment to breathe again.
Yeah. It's that also as well, Kayan, when you're not showing a reaction, so you're in a neutral because the other person they always watching your reaction, and then it triggers them, even you just giving them a little bit of reaction, isn't it? It triggers them for defensive, being, like it's being defensive.
Yeah, that's right. And she explained one of the reasons why showing emotions as the support worker or the negotiator or the person that's mediating the conflict. Sometimes when you show emotions to a person sharing their story, sometimes it alters their story. Sometimes if they see that empathy from your face, like, oh yeah, oh, that's so bad. Sometimes when that client sees that story turns into something else.
Yeah, because sometimes it triggers because we are built of the society like guilt, shame, judgment. And it reminds me like, when a dog is vicious and you move a little bit, it gives them like the trigger to become more vicious, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes. Good example. Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me the dog, like,
Mm.
you know, like sometimes the dog is about to bite you, but when you move a little bit, so you have to stand still, like no moving, meaning to say you're on the defenseless mode, like you're not doing anything.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, yeah. I think also active listening is very important, but it's anyone can listen. We all listen. We always listening to what people are saying, but it's how you do it. So people think active listening is about responding back to they think it's just about responding back to the person. It's more than that. It's about listening to understand what they're saying, not just to respond. So
So you
really
mean,
understanding the message that
so
the
you
person's saying to you.
excuse me about interrupting, but you mean like internalizing?
Yeah, that's right. So you're listening for the fact of listening, not just to respond. Do you know what I mean? So you need to pay attention to the other person's words, their tones, and body language, and then you got to reflect back what they are saying to show understanding before offering your perspective. So before giving them advice, you got to reflect back to them by summarizing what they've said.
I think it's awareness on that too. Being aware of what they say.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, awareness goes a long way. Yeah, so that will show awareness. So if you summarize what your client has said to you, that shows that you're aware of what they're saying. That's a sign that you're listening to them. She also mentioned something about questions, asking questions to clarify what was said. So instead of assuming, it's important that we ask open-ended questions to uncover the root cause of the situation. So, but we do this so we demonstrate respect, like she said, curiosity, and willingness to collaborate towards a solution.
Is that
Okay.
considered as well reframing?
I think reframing is like it can be, yeah, it can be. It depends on what they said. So reframing is about taking a bad situation and reframe it in a way that you see some positivity out of it.
Mm.
Okay. Like the story that you shared with us today, Alona, about your grandmother. Was it your grandmother?
Yeah, that was my grandmother. Yep.
Yeah, that was a terrible situation. But if you reframe that, you can say, from that terrible situation, you saw your grandmother display some unique skills that you've never seen her
Yeah.
display before in your life.
Yep.
You saw her display bravery, courage, how to communicate effectively, how to resolve critical situations. If that situation didn't happen, you wouldn't have known all that stuff about your grandmother. So that's an
And
example of reframing.
yeah, and then even in a crisis situation, sometimes you have to do what you need to do it because it's between sometimes life and death. So sometimes you have to like be pretending like you're submissive just to get on with that person because you let the person to be dominant, to be in control over you. Because if that is your like, I mean, the safety way, just have to do it.
Yeah. So your ego and your pride has to take a backward step.
Subside, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is.
that's right. Yeah, correct. Yeah. All right. I think it's 8:30. There you go. You guys got any other questions or comments to make before we end the session?
Yeah, would you be able to drop the link for that video, mate?
Yes. Let me do that now before I forget.
Thank you.
Was a good video, I think.
Mhm.
How do I do? Let me close that. All right, that should be on the chat now.
Thank you.
I'll just type in my email
Thanks.
as well, in case you guys need any assistance with role plays or anything else.
Kayan, is your Zoom already fixed?
Not my work one, no. This is my home one. But my one, my other job, no good. Hopefully I'll sort it out tomorrow.
Okay. Oh, good. Thank you.
No worries. All right. Guys, if you got don't have any other questions, I'm just gonna end the session now. And I'll see you guys next week.
Thank you, Kayan.
All
Thank you,
right, mate. Thank
everyone.
you
Good
very
night,
much.
everyone.
Have a good
Have a
night,
great
everyone.
night.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Hey guys.
Yeah.
See you later.
Bye-bye, mate.
Yeah.